You're watching the show that puts Mid-Michigan news in focus. This is Focal Point. In a horrific case of animal cruelty, 2 dogs were found dead in Ingham County.
Find out how you can rent a bike for free at MSU, tonight on Focal Point.
And the Michigan State Police are currently under fire for a lack of diversity on the force. We've got the details coming up. Focal Point starts now.
We'll have those stories for you in a minute, but first, after a nail-biting win against Louisville Saturday, the Msu men's basketball team will head to Indianapolis to the Final Four for the first time since 2010 to face the Duke University Blue Devils. Good evening, folks. I'm Tyler Clifford.
And I'm Miguel Martinez-Valle. Welcome to Focal Point. The Spartans are the lone Final Four participants who weren't a #1 regional seed, but it's their resilience that makes them stand out from the crowd.
And even despite the 8-1 previous losing record against Duke, players say they won't be satisfied until they take home that national championship title.
I mean, our season didn't go as good as theirs did, but we're at the same spot now, and we got somewhat the same history. So, I mean, we're a little bit of underdog because of our record, but not as our mindset.
We're not satisfied. We're not just happy with just being here. We want to win it all, and we have a legitimate chance of doing that.
But you know, Coach talked about it. He said, we just can't be satisfied. So, after winning that game, we just still on a mission. We just want to win the national championship.
The game against Duke is tomorrow at 6 p.m. at Lucas Oil Stadium.
If the Spartans win that game, they'll advance to the national championship on Monday evening. It didn't last very long, but it sure brought back memories from a year ago. At about 5 p.m. Sunday, police were standing by at the 1,000 block of Water's Edge Apartments shortly after the end of the MSU Elite 8 game. Police say there were a group of about 750 people in the streets, and after about 30 minutes, a fire was started and students dispersed quickly. Police took 10 people into custody for disorderly conduct and being within 300 feet of an open fire.
We ran here from Acres. We had to be here. We're freshmen. We had to come out and see it for ourselves.
People were taking their clothes off and putting them on the fire to keep it going. It was hilarious.
I think the cops are way more on top of it this year, though. They were ready to go. I think they were here before anything even started, before the game was even over.
MSU head basketball coach Tom Izzo sent an email to students this week asking Spartans to celebrate with class. We'll have more on that in the Final Four in sports.
2 dogs were found dead in the middle of the woods last week in Dansville. Focal Point's Nikki has more details on the investigation.
Ingham County Animal Control, how can we help you?
Last week, Animal Control dispatcher Autumn Schaefer received a call she describes as a disturbing one.
He said he was walking through that area and he had some concerns about 2 dogs that were tied to a tree. He said that they were dead and that they had been pretty badly decomposed.
Because of the seriousness of the call, Schaefer says they acted fast.
Just from what he described and how they'd been there that long, we wanted to get somebody there pretty fast so nothing got touched and we could start looking into it right away.
Deputy Jody LaBombard was the officer who arrived at the scene.
The way they were placed, it's pretty clear that someone placed them back there so they wouldn't be found.
Deputy LaBombard says it appeared the 2 dogs have been there for a minimum of 2 months, making it difficult to determine their coloring or breeds. So all that's left is 2 red collars.
There was no microchip present, no dog tags, nothing to go on.
And some hope.
We're hoping that someone knows something somewhere.
We're offering a $2,500 reward at this point for the arrest and conviction of those individuals involved.
This may have been a gruesome act, but it's not the first time Ingham County Animal Control has had to deal with something like this.
But each one of them will rip your heart out every time. There are resources out there to rehome, to give the animal another chance at life.
For Focal Point, I'm Amanda Chodnicki.
If you have any information that will help this investigation, contact the Ingham County Animal Control. And memorial services were held Tuesday for the MSU veterinary medicine student who was found dead in her East Lansing apartment last week. Police found 28-year-old Kelly Smith dead in her home in Arbor Glen Apartments near the intersection of Abbott and Lake Lansing Roads. They say no foul play is suspected and toxicology results are still pending. Her obituary says that Smith was an avid equestrian and was expecting to graduate from MSU this May.
Governor Rick Snyder said he will veto a Religious Freedom Restoration Act bill for Michigan if given the option to sign it. The announcement came after the signing of a bill in Indiana sparked national outrage. Snyder said the RFRA bill should not pass unless it's accompanied by an anti-discrimination bill protecting LGBT rights. March 22nd marked the one-year anniversary after over 300 same-sex marriages were performed across the state. Michigan's law enforcement experts say criminal justice will suffer if the state cannot find funding for continued police training. Focal Point's April Jones tells us what that means for local departments and just exactly how the community's reacting.
It's all a learning process.
It involves taser, the use of defensive tactics or fighting, handcuffing, prisoner handling.
A process that Lieutenant Greg Fringer say officers have to go through to properly protect the community.
We want our people to have the best training and equipment available to them.
Police officers go through extensive programs such as realistic-based training where they get hands-on practice on how to handle certain situations, such as when to fire their gun or when to hold back.
Using equipment that's identical to what they carry on a day-to-day basis.
However, when budgets get tight, training is often the first thing to go.
Reality-based training is cost prohibitive at times.
Recently, the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards announced that it will not accept any competitive grants, which typically goes to fund nearly 40% of the funds needed to train local police officers, such as those here in Meridian Township.
Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot!
Karen Moore is a Black Lives Matter activist who marched in a rally at MSU. She is concerned when training dollars are cut.
Don't shoot! Hands up!
How can you say that you're going to cut training for police officers that you're going to put into the real world? What exactly are you cutting?
She says police are quickly using their power to kill when other ways to defend are available.
The first line of defense is to shoot, at their legs, their knees, something to stop them from walking. If they can't run at you, how can they charge you?
Moore doesn't think police officers exhaust all of their options before firing their weapon, and that she says that is something to be fixed with proper training.
Every 28 hours, a Black man is killed by police officers.
With the budget cuts, Officer Fringer says the township takes advantage of free mediums such as YouTube videos.
They show sometimes poor decision-making by the officers, and we try and point that out.
Which helps officers get a reality-based knowledge at little to no cost.
If we train them well, they will do the right things when those events come up.
And keeping the community safe despite the lack of training. For Focal Point, I'm April Jones.
Changes in laws and budget cuts have made it difficult to keep police forces diverse. In this Focal Point investigation, we will show you how some officers are seeing a change. 22 years ago, the Michigan State Police had a specific drive.
There was a drive or initiative for affirmative action hiring.
Retired State Trooper Philip Schertzing recalls the federal consent decree that increased diversity in the police force. Previously an all-white male force, the department was freed from federal oversight once it reached a diversity standard in 1993. Hired a year after, Sergeant Michelle Szynski is a recruiter for the state police.
So there were a lot of things that were in place that helped to do that are no longer legal to do. So that makes our job now a little tougher than what it was during that time.
Since then, those diversity numbers have dropped. A change in focus. The last 12 years have seen an African-American, Hispanic, and the current woman director. The department says that a decade of budget cuts badly affected recruitment. Over 1,000 troopers were hired during the 1990s, but during the recession, trooper recruits dropped to just over 300. Recruiters accepted applications in the pipeline, which was dominated by white male applicants. But the state has recently expanded recruit centers to all urban cities in the state.
I teach in every recruit school. Now, the current school that's underway right now, my perception was, and I don't know the exact numbers, but it looks like it's a little bit more in terms of African Americans and women than I've seen in some of the previous schools.
A hopeful diversity shift back to drive. To find more information on becoming a state trooper, go to mi.gov/MSP-jobs. Well, first there was click it or ticket. Next, drive sober or get pulled over. And now the latest is drive high, get a DUI. Driving high was a key topic at this year's Traffic Safety Summit held at MSU's Kellogg Center. The event included safety professionals from all over the state in law enforcement, education, and engineering. Safety workers from Colorado came out to talk about some of the issues their state is facing with changes in marijuana laws. Colorado Department of Transportation Manager Emily Wilfong is excited to launch her new campaign, Drive High, Get a DUI, here in Michigan.
As Michigan starts contemplating recreational marijuana laws, to educate them about our experience in terms of how we went about addressing the new law in our state and how we went about educating people about impaired driving behavior.
The campaign is targeting male marijuana users between the ages of 18 and 34.
Well, it is in fact Good Friday, and this weekend there will be a lot of events going on around the greater Lansing area to celebrate Easter. It's also the last Friday of Lent and the last of the season's fish fries. St. Thomas Aquinas Church here in East Lansing puts on a weekly fish fry open to the community. The buffet-style meal is all you can eat and includes fish, mac and cheese, fries, and vegetables. The food is prepared by volunteers, most of whom are a part of the Knights of Columbus. They season and deep fry the fish as well as serve the meals to the community.
It's usually about 25 guys that we need on a continuous cycle through the course of the night to make sure everything runs smoothly, and we run a drive-through as well.
A drive-through? That sounds pretty good. I wish they delivered because that footage made me pretty hungry. Easter will be celebrated this Sunday, marking the end of Lent. Another religious observance also starts at sundown tonight as Jews around the world celebrate Passover.
Focal Point is always looking out for your safety. You've been taught to look both ways, but now some of us need to start looking up.
Plus, physical limitations aren't stopping one new group on campus from competing against each other. We're taking you on campus to see how adaptive recreation is helping those who want to move.
When do we give up? When do we just close our eyes and say, that's it? This water's too polluted. This disease too far along. To a Spartan, the answer is simple. Never. Because Michigan State was founded on the belief that our purpose is to make the world a better place. And when you're open to unconventional thinking, value people's differences, and are willing to forge true partnerships, then and only then can you solve the world's toughest problems. Like renewable energy, clean water, and Parkinson's disease. Because we know our true triumph lies in the impact we make on the world around us. And after all, if we don't do it, who will? Spartans will.
Identity theft is becoming more common, and if you're not careful, you could easily be a victim. Many think it may never happen to them.
Focal Point's Daniela Bruce shows us how prolific it's becoming and how to protect yourself.
But they never caught him, so.
Amanda Pierzynski was a victim of a crime that happens far too often, debit card theft.
There's about $3,000 worth of unusual payments on my account.
Oh, people lose their debit card, credit card all the time, or it's stolen.
Michigan State University Federal Credit Union CEO April Klobus says that this is becoming more and more common.
You have to treat your cards like cash.
Lieutenant Greg Frenger of Meridian Township Police says if you notice your card is being charged or it is lost, action should be taken right away.
Get in touch with the bank immediately and put a freeze or stop on that card.
Klobus said if fraudulent charges are made to an account, the credit unions and banks are prepared to help.
So we block your card, meaning it is that card number can no longer be used. We will credit you back the money of those transactions.
Frenger says police do the best they can to catch these thieves.
Typically what we'll do is go to those retailers and see if there's any way we can get video recordings of any of the events surrounding that incident and try and develop a suspect from there.
Now, both Frenger and Clovis say there are very simple ways that people can protect themselves from this all too common crime of identity theft.
And if you keep information on your phone, have your phone locked as well.
Check your account balances on a regular basis, whether you do it on a mobile app or on, the internet.
Pierzynski said this experience has made her more careful with her information.
I check my bank account more often to make sure that nothing is happening.
For Focal Point, I'm Daniela Bruce.
The FTC website says that people should report possible identity theft immediately to your bank or card issuer and to follow up with a written certified letter to confirm you reported the problem.
An MSU student is helping Lansing area foster kids get a piece of a normal childhood, one bike at a time. Junior Liz Brajovich teamed up with residents in a bike build this month for children living in a local foster care. They were able to match the 27 bikes with 27 kids from the Wellspring Lutheran Church Services foster care. Brajovich says she had so much help that the bikes were all built in just 45 minutes.
I thought the event could go one of two ways. I thought it could be me and about 5 other people building bikes until long after 4 o'clock, or I thought that there was a chance we'd have a really great turnout and a lot of community support, and luckily I was amazed by how many people came out.
The bikes will be delivered to the kids this week, along with a helmet and note from their Spartan friends who worked on the bike.
Physical limitations aren't stopping one new group on campus from competing with each other.
And we all know texting and driving is not a good mix, but pedestrians are putting themselves at risk too. Focal Point's Marley Delaney has these stories and more on our campus report. Marley?
Thanks, guys. There are laws in place that prevent impaired driving, but some of those same distractions could put pedestrians in harm's way. Focal Point's Ariel Rembert has the story.
1. When you were young, your parents always warned you to look both ways when crossing the street. While times have not changed, technology has. Being distracted by a smartphone or electronic device is not only a concern while driving, but also walking.
Is when they hit me.
Senior at Michigan State University, Emily Nichols, was hit by a car last May while walking to her math class. And immediately,
I looked for my phone first because that flew out of my hand, so that was the first thing that I did was to look for my phone.
Recent studies at New Patterson University have shown that pedestrians are brashly walking through busy intersections with do not walk signs flashing while on their smartphones or wearing headphones. So why are people less worried about being seen? Officer Jeff Blair of the LCC Police Department says people are just too zoned out.
Their whole world is in their palm. And the things going around them become less significant, and they even ignore them, making them more susceptible to being injured.
When listening to music or looking down at your phone while walking, you separate yourself from the rest of the world. And in a split second, your life could change.
You're also making yourself a target to potential crime.
Even though I had the right of way, even if I had checked instead of just ran right across, I looked both ways still and make sure that I'm good to go and I'm clear.
So protect yourself. Don't watch your feet, watch the street. For Focal Point, I'm Ariel Rembert.
The number of pedestrian emergency room visits because of injuries related to cell phones tripled between 2004 and 2010. Some people think that it takes a certain athletic ability to compete in sports. Focal Point's Miguel Martinez-Valle shows us how one group of MSU students are not letting a disability get in the way.
Katie Fair doesn't just play for fun. She plays to win.
Hockey tonight is really fun. It's really competitive. You'll probably hear a lot of screaming from me.
Fair never played a sport before transferring to MSU in 2013.
I'll stop you.
Now she's a regular.
Don't worry about my chair.
Katie has cerebral palsy.
So I can't, that's as far as I can turn my right arm.
But that hasn't stopped her from being involved in sports. And hockey isn't the only sport offered. MSU's Adaptive Recreation Club, which was started in 2014, also gives athletes the opportunity to participate in sports like ping pong, tennis, and even track events.
I played tennis my first summer here, and I met Peter, and he was always interested in starting up this club, so this was his first year to kind of get it rolling.
While the club just started in September, there are about 20 regular members with a range of different abilities, and many volunteers from all areas of the university who help out.
The way I run this, it's an open practice, and people come when they can, but our numbers are very steady.
It's just cool to see how every person does something. We can all do something, we just may do it a little differently.
And it's those differences that these athletes embrace, using sports wheelchairs and adapted equipment to make participation possible.
And there's really a lot of options out there to facilitate participation in sports for individuals of all abilities.
Options that give students like Katie a chance not only to participate in play, but also to compete. For Focal Point, I'm Miguel Martinez-Valle.
The Adaptive Sports and Recreation Club meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays at Jennison Fieldhouse and Fridays at Dem Hall. Founding director of the MSU Broad Art Museum, Michael Rush, died last week after a 2-year battle with pancreatic cancer. Rush was an author, actor, and an award-winning curator. He worked to make the museum an educational resource for MSU and a cultural center for Mid-Michigan. Eli and Edith Broad provided a $5 million endowment in Rush's name, and the university is planning ways for his name to have a lasting influence. There is a memorial being planned for Rush in New York City later this spring. April wouldn't be complete without rain and taxes. As the deadline to submit tax returns is less than 2 weeks away, one MSU program is helping residents in the Lansing area. Focal Point's Daniel Hamburg has more.
In the basement of the Student Services Building at Michigan State, you might find Adam Kogelschatz.
I think it's Benjamin Franklin who said there's 2 things certain in life, and it's death and taxes.
It's not always first on a college student's mind, but for the senior accounting major, he's already prepared about 200 tax returns this year. He's the president of MSU VITA, or the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. People who make under $53,000 a year can make an appointment to get their taxes prepared for free.
And when you visit one of MSU VITA's centers in East Lansing, you won't have to fill out one of these paper forms. All you have to do is sit down with one of MSU's volunteers and they'll help you file your returns online.
Did you itemize your deductions last year?
Christopher Shim is one of about 120 volunteers with MSU VITA.
It gives students an opportunity to use some of the skills they're learning in the classroom and apply it to real life.
Dr. Erica Toby teaches personal finance at MSU.
If you can kind of develop that base as a college student, you're going to put yourself forward so that you're ready when you graduate and you're out on your own.
Last year, all VITA centers refunded almost $4 million to Lansing taxpayers, $1.3 million of which was earned income credit.
For every dollar of earned income credit back to the Lansing taxpayer, it's $1.67 back into the Lansing economy.
Money back in the economy and money back in people's pockets.
Someone was so excited, they got a $4,000 refund, and that money is going, they didn't expect it, and that money is allowing them to take their son, who is a citizen of Mexico, and that money will be enough to bring him back to the United States so he can live with them.
Whether you're a student or a working member of the community, programs like this one can really make an impact.
It's a rewarding experience, and it's fulfilling to actually see the results right in front of you.
For Focal Point, I'm Daniel Hamburg.
April 15th is the deadline for tax returns, and if your income meets the threshold, you can call 211 to schedule an appointment with a volunteer at a VITA center. Hundreds of students from all over Michigan attended the 3rd annual Cesar E. Chavez Leadership Conference at the Kellogg Center last Thursday. The conference offered a variety of workshops and presentations for both high school and college students. One of the presentations was about conflict in the rural Mexican village Ayotzinapa. The presentation discussed the disappearance and possible murder of 43 Mexican college students in September of last year. The disappearance protests in Mexico and around the world, many waiting answers from local officials in fighting against government corruption.
To have an opportunity to talk about the injustices that are happening to families, like working families. I mean, we're talking about human beings, students, young kids like you and I, who wanted just to make the world a better place, and their families are searching for their bodies.
Family members of the missing students, as well as a student from Ayotzinap's rural school, will be speaking at MSU April 9th. Spring is here, and as the weather warms up, more students will be taking their bikes to class. May is Bike Month, and MSU is rolling out new initiatives to help cyclists. New bike repair stations, a bike share system, and more secure bike parking are giving students and faculty members more reasons to travel by 2 wheels instead of 4.
It's fun. It gives me the freedom to go wherever I want.
Potter is a sustainable transportation manager of MSU Bikes and says he's been biking for 46 years.
It's a wonderful feeling to ride a bike.
Students who don't own a bike but still want to ride a class can now rent one outside of Bailey Hall in the Brody Complex. The new ASMSU bike share system allows students to rent a bike much like renting a book at a library and gives all students an equal opportunity of free transportation.
This service goes a long way to reducing waste and providing opportunities for students to have free and safe transportation around campus.
Students can rent these bikes for up to 24 hours at a time, and the bikes are fully equipped with a U-lock and travel accessories. However, many students fear that their bikes will be stolen or vandalized, so MSU Bikes built 2 safe bike parking facilities.
One on the north side of campus at the the Grand River parking ramp next to Olin, and then one at the Trowbridge parking ramp.
These safe parking facilities are membership-based and can only be opened with a swipe of a card from an authorized user.
I think a lot of people may not know about it who currently drive, and if they knew, they might start to utilize it more, and so I would encourage people to consider that.
Also located in these safe parking facilities and in different residential neighborhoods throughout campus are do-it-yourself bike repair stations.
So you hang your bike from the saddle, and then you can get the wheels off the ground and up higher so it's easier to work on. The tools are hanging on cables, and then there's an air pump.
Potter said that although May is Bike Month and students will be out of school, he will make sure to have bike-related activities and events in the month of April.
Here, have a good day.
You can follow MSU Bikes at bikes.msu.edu or at msubikes.wordpress.com for more information about all different aspects of cycling. That's what's happening on campus. I'm Marley Delaney.
Thanks, Marley. East Lansing's gearing up for the Final Four, and Spartans have arrived in Indianapolis.
And Focal Point will give you a look at how one local organization is making basketball interactive for kids. All that up next in sports.
When do we give up? When do we just close our eyes and say, that's it? This water's too polluted. This disease too far along. To a Spartan, the answer is simple. Never. Because Michigan State was founded on the belief that our purpose is to make the world a better place. And when you're open to unconventional thinking, value people's differences, and are willing to forge true partnerships, then and only then can you solve the world's toughest problems. Like renewable energy, Parkinson's disease, because we know our true triumph lies in the impact we make on the world around us. And after all, if we don't do it, who will? Spartans will.
Sleep deprived after a nerve-wracking weekend, the Spartans return to East Lansing one last time before heading to Indianapolis. Students and local fans flocked to Breslin Center to welcome home the men's basketball team on making it to the Final Four. The players celebrated on the court as the crowd cheered them on. Ahore's Tom Izzo has some words to say about how the players are making a name for the Spartan basketball.
We are finally getting a present. You know, it was Boris Peterson up in Canada on national TV. It was Mateen Claims in New York. It was Steve Smith down in Atlanta. We're starting to get a presence because we're going to build an empire here.
The Spartans left for Indianapolis around 3 p.m. on Wednesday, where they have been practicing and getting prepared for Saturday's game. While the Spartans are away for March Madness tournament, there is still more basketball to be played. Kids and families came to Jennison Fieldhouse last weekend for March Magic Hoop Fest. Children and teenagers played on the interactive basketball playground full of hoops challenges, full court basketball games, and bounce houses. This is the 6th year the Greater Lansing Sports Authority has hosted an event in preparation for the high school boys and girls state basketball championship.
Even though this is my job, I volunteered for this 5 years prior to this as well, because it's a great community event. You've been around here, you've seen the look in some of these kids' eyes. They don't have this opportunity on a regular basis.
MSU gymnasts will be competing tomorrow in regional championships in Iowa. They finished the 12th season with 15 and 4 conference wins. The Spartans will be competing against 36 other schools with a 5th seed, standing in the tough Iowa State region, including LSU, Nebraska, Denver, Washington, and Iowa State. This will be Michigan State's first appearance in regionals since 2012 and 22nd in the program history. Fans can keep up with scores on the Iowa State athletics site at www.cyclones.com. MSU softball team has made its first trip to New Jersey today for the first game in a series against Rutgers. The Spartans led this series with a 6-2 margin against the Scarlet Knights and sit 12th in the Big Ten with an overall 16-17 record. The Scarlet Knights sit 5th in the Big Ten with a 16-9 record and 2 conference losses. MSU has already surpassed some 2014 stat totals, going from 27 to 47 bases stolen and increasing runs per game from the last year's 2.6 to 9 total to over 4.5. The MSU baseball team will get to see how their skills match up against some professionals. The Spartans will battle it out against the Lansing Lugnuts in the 6th annual Crosstown Showdown this Thursday. The game will be at Cooley Law School Stadium in downtown Lansing, where MSU beat the Lugnuts in last year's event 2-1. For tickets, visit msuspartans.com or lansingLugnuts.com. That's all what's happening in sports. I'm April Jones.
East Lansing welcomes Phantom of the Opera to the Wharton Center now through April 12th. This new and improved version of Phantom includes reinvented staging and scenic design, making it one of the most successful musicals of all time. Some critics have gone as far to say that the musical is powerful, gorgeous, and better than ever. Worldwide, Phantom has played over 65,000 performances and has won more than 70 major theater awards.
For more information on tickets, visit whartoncenter.com. Call 1-800-WHARTON or visit the box office.
And that's all for tonight, folks. We leave you with an April Fool's Day flash mob for Mental Health Awareness Week on MSU's campus.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night.